Good morning. It is 9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. How are you? Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You can listen to it on all the apps, the FM dial. You can watch the show as well. Super Talk TV is up and running on YouTube and Rumble. Hit the subscribe button. It's free to do, and it helps us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. It actually helps a lot. You want to know something hilarious? I actually thought, and maybe I'm just an idiot for thinking it, maybe it was just wishful thinking. I wanted to come in here and talk about something other than Iran to kick off the show. That's what I wanted to do. We've been talking about this so much that I was like, the last thing I wanted to do was open the show with more Iran talk. I'm just over it. And I'm driving in, and it's about, 7:50, and all those plans that I had, all that wishful thinking was thrown right out the window because we have both Iran and President Trump declaring the Strait of Hormuz completely open. And as a result of that, oil prices are plummeting, which is great news for the economy, great news for the world. And this is a good sign that this actually could be over. When I was thinking about when I'm going to talk about Iran, how I'm going to talk about Iran last night, while I was doing show prep, we had several instances of President Trump again saying that the war would be over soon. However, after this news, I hope that this is the reality. Iran's economy was suffering devastating losses of up to $1.7 billion in just a few days because of President Trump's blockade. And I think maybe they felt that squeeze. I was wondering if they would care about the squeeze, because the squeeze would hurt their people first, and I don't think that they actually care about their people. I also understand that Iran, while the strait is blocked off, there's other ways to get in and out of the country. So I wasn't sure how much this was going to affect them. It looks like it affected them very much so, because we got the news this morning that the blockade was working. We actually had this from President Trump last night. This was making the rounds, where he said, I've been yelling at Iranians all day.
Fox News alert, Iran's out of business. They lost the strait, and the only way to get through to them is to yell.
Have you been negotiating a lot all day? I mean,
Yeah.
Is that why your voice is hoarse?
I've been screaming at Iranians all day, yes. A little bit of a laryngitis because of my scream. I've been screaming at Iranians.
So the Iran leadership you're screaming at?
You know why? Because that's the only thing they understand. They don't understand being nice. They understand the way I have to do business. I treat all people differently.
That was President Trump last night. That clip aired on the interview from Maria Bartiromo, but apparently yelling at Iranians got the job done, at least for now. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed and pray that this does end the entire conflict. This comes after the ceasefire that was announced yesterday between Israel and Lebanon. But again, the strait is back open. Oil prices are plummeting. The losses were too much for Iran to take. $1.7 billion in just a few days.
It is day 5, a full work week of the U.S. blockade out on the Persian Gulf behind me. We have not heard any reports of any major confrontations or incidents. And the latest update from CENTCOM, it says 14 vessels have now heeded the warnings of the United States and complied with the blockade of Iranian ports. Meanwhile, ships not going to or from Iran can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And here's some audio the U.S. released.
Motor vessel Molly, this is warship 112. We will be escorting you to your next port of call. Thank you for your cooperation. This is warship 112, standing by at channel 16.
President Trump says the U.S. blockade might end up being more powerful than the bombing, as the blockade is estimated to be costing Iran up to hundreds of millions of dollars in losses per day. The president says, believe it or not, the U.S. is on better terms with Iran right now. He thinks a more permanent deal is coming, and the ceasefire may not need to be extended.
And it looks like that could very well be the case today. And I'm grateful for that. I think we're all grateful for that, no matter which side of this conflict you've been on. I think one thing that we can all agree is let's get it over with as quickly as possible. It looks like we could be heading that way again after the strait has been reopened. Oil prices just coming down really, really fast, dropping over 9% since the announcement of the Strait open for business.
So much that they got a sense of what the Iranians were going to say about this, but it was just they were looking at everything that happened. I mean, we've talked about this, I peeked in right before this hit, and I think that this just shows that Trump won. Trump won, and the Arab nations won. The Arab nations with which we've been united since his first term won as well, because they saw Iran as the main enemy. Iran lost. China lost big time. They were losing money. They didn't want to switch to another supplier because they'd have to pay a lot more. The EU lost because they didn't pitch in to help at all with this. And I think Democrats lost, the one who were just totally over the top, saying there's no way this is the blockade was a brilliant move by Donald Trump. That united the United States with China. It united the United States with the EU that didn't have enough jet fuel, for goodness sakes, because of the block.
In the end, you may prove to be right with everything you said. However, the war is not over. Just a couple caveats here. The blockade stays, which means Iran could continue to be starved of financial money.
So as of right now, Donald Trump on Truth Social, the Strait of Hormuz is completely open and ready for business and full passage, but the naval blockade will remain in full force and effect as it pertains to Iran, only until such time as our transaction with Iran is 100% complete. This process should go very quickly, and that most of the points are already negotiated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Last night, President Trump was doing an event in Nevada where he was talking about the domestic policies that have gotten some major wins, in particular, the big, beautiful bill and the tax policies. I don't know if you've done your taxes yet. I'm sure you have. Did you get more or less on your return than you envisioned? I'm just being perfectly honest. I didn't expect to get a return, and then I got a return, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Reminding the American people about the benefits of his domestic policies is a big deal. Going to Nevada, where I do believe the no tax on tips helped him win that very crucial swing state, to go back over this plan, it was a smart move. But while he was there, one of the topics that came up was Iran. This is something that everybody wants to know. And he had said last night that this is going to be over soon.
You noticed that you were doing very well. And I will say the war in Iran is going along swimmingly. We can do whatever we want. And it should be ending pretty soon. It was perfect. I mean, it's perfect. It was the power we have, our military. We have the most powerful military anywhere in the world. I built it 4 years, my first 4 years. And we're still building it. We're building it. We have the best military. We have the best equipment in the world, the best rockets and anti-rockets. You know, if you look at the way we shoot, you know, we had 111 rockets shot at one of our ships. I won't name the ship, but it was a beauty. And out of the 111 rockets shot, all 111 rockets, and these things move at about 3,000 miles an hour. You know, it's not like, oh, gee, we have plenty of time to think about it. Every single one of them, 111, were all shot down. Think of that.
So he said last night the war would be over soon. He said it actually twice during that event. We'll play you the other time in a second here. He also said yesterday that Iran has agreed to some very important points in the negotiations. For starters, no nuclear weapons. And secondarily, we're going to be able to retrieve the nuclear dust. This was President Trump on the White House lawn yesterday.
The big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
So that was the president yesterday. Again, he seemed very confident. I took all of these statements yesterday with a grain of salt because he has said this over and over and over again. I mean, how many times has he said that the war has been close to ending? How many times has he said that we've already won? But with the Strait of Hormuz opening this morning, it does give everybody a lot more hope that this is the reality. I pray, because what we've seen elsewhere signals that this could go on longer, and maybe there's a design behind that. You know, maybe the story was leaked to the Wall Street Journal that we're talking to Ford and General Motors to ramp up weapons production so the Iranians would see it. I mean, they're paying attention to American media as closely as you and I are. Make no mistake about it. So these things could be strategically placed. That is not out of the realm of possibility. But we also had heard that China had been helping them with satellites to locate military bases. But in the end, the Strait of Hormuz is open today. Donald Trump just posting on True Social, thank you to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar for your bravery and help. I noticed there was no NATO allies on that list. That's interesting. This is President Trump last night, again, at the event in Nevada.
Did you see where I did a list last week? 17 years in Vietnam and 5 years in Afghanistan and more, much more than that, and all these different places. And I said, we were in there for 2 months. And you know what? We're going to have victory very shortly. This is not... And against a very tough, smart country. These people were fighters. And, you know, I don't want to claim it before the fact, but they have no Navy left. 158 ships at the bottom of the sea. 158, think of it. 150. I got angry. I said, why didn't you save them? We could have used them, you know. They would rather shoot them than save them. I said, what the hell? It's only money. But some of them were good. They had one named the Soleimani. You know what the Soleimani? We took him out. He was the worst, one of the worst terrorists in the history of this country, this world. They killed many of our people.
That was President Trump last night in Nevada with the statements there. He's saying 17 years in Vietnam, 5 years in Afghanistan. He laid those points out when he addressed the nation. Was it last week, last Wednesday, or the Wednesday before? I can't recall correctly, but it was one of the two. And I thought that was one of the most powerful points in his address to the nation. But to me, it had seemed like we were going to go longer than the 4 to 6 weeks. That still is a possibility. I got a text on the text line, 8946. Chris sounds like he's eating a little crow this morning. I'm happy to. It's not over yet. But what did I say the past couple of days? I'm happy to be wrong. In fact, I'd rather be wrong. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Iran has declared the Strait of Hormuz completely open. Donald Trump has said the blockade is going to remain in effect for Iran until the negotiations are done. But this is positive news. Make no mistake about it. And the markets are reacting in tune. Again, 9% drop in oil since the announcement this morning. This is big time for markets, man, and we're going to see a lot of green today on Wall Street. We're going to see a lot of good news when it comes to the gas prices if this is to hold. We'll talk more about this on the way. We'll take some of your phone calls as well, 615-737-9986. And then I got some other stuff to talk about. It's a wild week when a Tulsi Gabbard story about the 2019 impeachment and the whistleblowers being referred to the DOJ for criminal prosecution flies under the radar, but it has. We'll talk about that on the way and more. 920 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand here for Conservatives for Lower Health Care Costs, and they are sounding the alarm. President Trump doing what politicians have promised for decades but never delivered, actually fighting to lower prescription drug costs for American families and seniors. And he's forced Big Pharma to make deals, reform pharmacy benefit managers, and launch Trump RX. That's a platform to buy medications at dramatically reduced prices, which is real relief for Tennessee families, seniors, and anyone who's ever had to choose between a prescription or the light bill. But right now in Nashville, some politicians are pushing Senate Bill 2040, the so-called Fair Prescription Act. And it sounds reasonable, but Conservatives for Lower Health Care Costs say it is not. Estimates say if it passes, it would force the closure of hundreds of pharmacies across Tennessee, overnight, which would mean thousands of jobs being eliminated and over 1.5 million patients scrambling to find care. Many of these pharmacies serve rural communities where the nearest pharmacy is 30 minutes away. SB 2040 would also cut off mail order delivery. That hurts veterans, seniors who can't drive, and the Trump RX program itself. This is big government at its worst, says conservatives, for lower health care costs when you try to solve one problem by creating a handful more. Conservatives for lower health care costs is sounding the alarm. You can learn more and decide for yourself at protecttnrx.com.
Coming up here, President Trump says the U.S. will get all the nuclear dust. We'll have more on the opening of the Strait of Hormuz and what President Trump is saying on the White House lawn moments ago. It's coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in her fuzzy slippers doing the news from home on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We were talking about alien movies a little while ago, like an hour ago, with Dan during the morning show. And I didn't see this text immediately, but I see it now, and I feel like I need to read it. Jason texted in. We were recommending alien movies for Dan to watch, and everybody agrees They Live is the best alien movie. There's no one alien movie that can beat it. It's the best.
And Dan said he never saw it either.
I know, he needs to see it. Jason texted in, and he knows why Dan didn't see it. He said, Chris, Dan is far too busy removing planes from trees to watch a movie. It's true. I would add, though, it's only attempting to remove planes from trees. He never actually got it out. So we got a lot to get to here today, and there's a story that's been making the rounds that has not gotten the attention it deserves. Tulsi Gabbard has sent criminal referrals to the Department of Justice regarding whistleblowers when it comes to Donald Trump's first impeachment. In 2019, you will remember that Donald Trump was impeached for a perfectly fine phone call. And Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, just revealed that all of that impeachment scandal was a farce. CBS News with the headline, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, asked the Justice Department to investigate 2 former government officials who played a central role in President Trump's first impeachment inquiry. A spokesperson for Gabbard's office confirmed that she drafted criminal referrals for a whistleblower and a former intelligence community watchdog, but did not detail what specific crimes are alleged. Whether to pursue a criminal investigation following a referral is up to prosecutors at the Justice Department. This is something that we should see done before midterms. Now, maybe you don't have a lot of faith in the DOJ, and I don't blame you for not having a lot of faith in the DOJ. But if there is a new guy or gal coming in to take Pam Bondi's seat and alleviate Deputy Director Todd Blanche, who is the interim AG right now, I hope that we see this before midterms, because what the American people want is accountability and to see the swamp drained. This would be a huge step in the right direction. The whistleblower, whose identity has not been formally disclosed, reported an urgent concern about President Trump's request for Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden. You remember the clip? We've all seen the clip. Well, son of a bee, he got fired. He wanted them to look into that, and the complaint also expressed concerns about how records of a Trump-Zelensky phone call were handled and about the role of Mr. Trump's then personal attorney, the mayor of the century, Rudy Giuliani, in the U.S.'s relationship with Ukraine. He said, I've received information from multiple U.S. government officials that the president of the United States is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. election. That's what the whistleblower wrote, saying this interference includes, among other things, pressuring a foreign country to investigate one of the president's main domestic political rivals. They said that there was a quid pro quo for foreign aid. Tulsi Gabbard says that is bovine scatology, and she sat down with News Nation to detail why she referred these 2 individuals to the Department of Justice for a criminal referral and what they exactly did. We'll bring you that audio from Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, on the way. There's a lot to get to today. Hang out with us. It's 9:30. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 9:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and President Trump out with a new Truth Social. It says the USA will get all nuclear dust in Iran. No money will exchange hands, he also says. And he says that Israel will not be bombing Lebanon any longer. Now, here's the president speaking on the White House lawn just moments ago.
The big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bomber. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
And we will continue to track this news throughout the day. Early this morning, the House of Representatives voted to approve a short-term renewal of the FISA surveillance program. but only until April 30th. It had been set to expire on Monday.
Allowing this authority to expire would leave the United States blind to threats that move at the speed of the modern conflict.
That is Georgia Republican Congressman Austin Scott. He was not one of the handful of Republicans who voted against a 5-year extension, which would incorporate some minor reforms. Now, Section 702 allows the government to spy on foreign nationals abroad, even when those communications involve Americans. That is the latest news. Your weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
You remember that. I remember that. We all remember that. That is what it looks like when there's a quid pro quo. The prosecutor was investigating Burisma. Joe's son, Hunter, was on the board. Nobody wanted any investigations there. Nobody except for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump wanted them to look into it. It was a perfectly fine phone call. No quid pro quo, but it led to an impeachment scandal in 2019. And the Democrats are going to be willing to lie to impeach Donald Trump again should they win back the House in the midterms in November. This is one of the reasons why we have been pushing for this war to end in Iran, pushing to get back focused on domestic issues, pushing for accountability in silver bracelets. It looks like that accountability could be coming, especially when it comes to the impeachment hoax that we saw in 2019. Tulsi Gabbard, she's back on the scene, Director of National Intelligence, and she has referred to whistleblowers who said that President Trump requested Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate former President Joe Biden in a quid pro quo. Had no idea what they were talking about. Tulsi Gabbard, this is. I mean, I don't want to get overexcited about this. And I think that we've been burned with a bit of hopium time and time again when it comes to people like James Comer and the Biden crime family. We all understand that there's a bit of smoke there. And when there's smoke, there's usually fire. And we want investigations and we want accountability. But it never seems to happen. Maybe it's coming now. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. We can pray for it. Tulsi Gabbard went on News Nation last night, and she exposed the deep state tactics that were used to manufacture the 2019 impeachment of Donald Trump. This is Tulsi Gabbard on News Nation.
You released new documentation this week showing what happened in the lead up to the impeachment of President Donald Trump in 2019. Can you tell us what you found and why now to release and declassify this information to the public?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. You know, first and foremost, it is always the right time to expose the truth to the American people about the deep state tactics that have been used time and time again, fundamentally to undermine the foundational principles of our republic, and in so many cases to undermine the decisions that the American people make when they cast their votes in our elections to decide who they want to lead our country. And so the documents that we released really pointed to the fact that the 2019 impeachment occurred because there were members of the intelligence community working directly with House Democrats, specifically Adam Schiff, who's on the House Intelligence Committee at the time, concocting this narrative, weaponizing the whistleblower process, lying and abusing their power, all to create this manufactured basis that Nancy Pelosi then used to drive this impeachment against Donald Trump in 2019.
And time again, what we've seen from the Democrats is always a classic case of projection. They criticize President Trump and accuse him of things that they themselves are doing. And like we saw with Joe Biden, well, son of a bee, he got fired. This is something that the Democrats were well aware of and were doing. So they accused Donald Trump of it. But Tulsi Gabbard says the accusations were pure bovine scatology. And she talked about how accountability needs to happen because it will be remembered for decades. This is Tulsi Gabbard again on News Nation last night. She said, what can you tell us about this?
Can you talk to us about why you decided to do that and which laws you believe were broken?
It's important to push for accountability. First step is exposing the truth to the American people. That is a huge step towards accountability because the more we shine a light on the truth of these deep state tactics to undermine our republic and the will of the American people, the more likely it is that we have hope for change. Accountability can come after the presentation of the truth, and in this case, documents that had not been released publicly before. I'm leaving it up to the lawyers and the Department of Justice to take a look at this and to determine the specific legal legal parameters, but it was important for us to refer this along with all of the information that we have so that the Department of Justice can do exactly that and investigate it.
So we're going to get an investigation from the Department of Justice. I'm looking forward to it. Tulsi Gabbard also laid out the facts as to why there is going to be an investigation, talking about these individuals that had zero evidence and zero direct knowledge of these phone calls that were perfectly fine, according to the President of the United States.
I'll hit the high points on these documents. There are details and hundreds of pages of transcripts that we released in conjunction with House Intel Chairman Rick Crawford. But the bottom line is this. Number one, the whistleblower, so-called whistleblower who came forward, presented no evidence and no first-hand knowledge. This is a person who had heard about a conversation that President Trump had with Zelensky, then went straight to Adam Schiff on the House Intelligence Committee. And this is where they came up with this false narrative. And this so-called whistleblower then went and filed a complaint with the Intelligence Community Inspector General.
And I'm sure he had no nudging from Adam Schiff on that, right? I'm sure Adam Schiff was just a solemn observer. He didn't have anything to do with that. He didn't influence this in any way. I'm sure he was just aghast at the accusations and had nothing to do with the conniving and the scheming behind the scenes.
The other witness, so-called witness to this, is somebody who also had zero firsthand knowledge and presented zero evidence, someone who was also a co-author of the 2017 Russia hoax intelligence community assessment that President Obama had ordered be created in conjunction with John Brennan and James Clapper at the time. Again, no firsthand knowledge or evidence, and someone who said that even after reading the transcript, he didn't really see the issue there until the whistleblower had explained it to him.
Weird. I was under the impression that President Trump was controlled by Russia. That's what Adam Schiff told me.
And lastly, the Inspector General himself. And this is really such a violation of public trust and the responsibility that we expect all of our inspectors generals to have, in that he didn't conduct a full investigation. He didn't even ask to see the transcript of the phone call between President Trump and Zelensky. And he admitted to Congress that he did not have any evidence that he was relying on. He had made a criminal referral to the Department of Justice based on this so-called whistleblower's complaint. Department of Justice came back and said there's nothing here. This Inspector General then went to Congress anyway and presented it to them. All of this coming down to the bottom line of which this was a partisan political attempt, once again, to undermine the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump as President of the United States.
Where is all the Democrats today yelling about my democracy and not subverting the will of the American people? Are they silent? Have you heard from them? Can somebody do a wellness check? I haven't heard this story anywhere. The mainstream media has really tried to bury this thing, and with the grace of the news cycle, they've been able to, but it looks like this could be coming to a head. During our podcast recording yesterday, with myself, Dan Mandis, Matt Murphy, Mostly Peaceful, which will drop tomorrow morning, Murphy had said something that I thought was really good. He said, he was thinking back to the 2015 election. He's like, what was the core promise that got Donald Trump elected? That core promise, Murphy said during the podcast, was draining the swamp. And we've yet to see the swamp drained. In fact, we see a lot of swamp creatures get a slap on the back and an endorsement, Lindsey Graham. But there are certain swamp creatures that need to be dealt with immediately. And there's stuff like this that feels like low-hanging fruit that would reinvigorate the base, would bring in back some of those black-pilled conservatives if we saw criminal charges and accountability. There are a lot of individuals that deserve silver bracelets in this country, whether it has to do with the Epstein files, the impeachment hoaxes, the weaponization of government, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, you name them. They deserve to be held accountable, and the American people want to see this happen. And I think if we see it happen before midterms, there might be a bit more energy behind the Republicans. I hope and I pray, but I don't want to count chickens before they hatch. Elsewhere, the big news of the day, Strait of Hormuz is officially opened. Donald Trump, 20 minutes ago on True Social, posting, Iran, with the help of the USA, has removed or is removing all of the sea mines. Thank you, President DJT. He also posted, again, this deal is not tied in any way to Lebanon. but we will make Lebanon great again. In another post 10 minutes ago, thank you to Pakistan and its great Prime Minister and Field Marshal, two fantastic people, President Donald J. Trump. Then he posted 12 minutes ago, a great and brilliant day for the world, DJT. And 5 minutes ago, Iran has agreed to never close the Strait of Hormuz again. It will no longer be used as a weapon against the world. President Donald J. Trump. It seems like this is moving very, very quickly, and I pray that we see a peace deal done and negotiated over the weekend. Fingers crossed. I think no matter what side of this you're on, everybody wants to see it done with. So let's pray for the peacemakers here, and let's hope that this thing holds and that it goes as well as it could. Again, so there's a lot of statements coming real fast. President Trump said that we will be getting the nuclear dust the B-2 bombers created, and that no money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form. That was a Truth Social post earlier. This was also a statement from the president yesterday on the White House lawn.
We have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
So that was yesterday. President Trump foreshadowing the news, perhaps, that we're getting this morning. Posting on True Social, the USA will get all nuclear dust created by our great B-2 bombers. No money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form. Is that a jab about pallets of cash? I feel like that's a jab about pallets of cash. I feel like that's a jab at the Biden and the Obama administration's. Biden releasing, $6 billion in assets for hostage negotiations. Insane. He said this deal is in no way subject to Lebanon either, but the USA will separately work with Lebanon and deal with the Hezbollah situation in an appropriate manner. Israel will not be bombing Lebanon any longer. And then he said they are prohibited. Prohibited is in all caps from doing so by the USA. Enough is enough. Thank you, President DJT. Let's just hold on that last sentence one more time. They are prohibited from doing so by the USA. Who's in charge in this relationship? Is it the United States of America or is it Israel? There's a lot of black-pilled conservatives that say that we are controlled by Israel in all of these situations. I don't think so. I think that there's times when our interests overlap. I think there's nuanced conversations about Israeli influence in America that should be had. I think that there should be had conversations about giving foreign aid to Israel and giving foreign aid to any nation when you're $39 trillion in debt. I'm not sure that that's good fiscal management here, but that's a conversation that we should have, but it's not a conversation for today. But there's a lot of people that say we're only doing this for the Greater Israel Project. How many calls do we have yesterday on that? A bunch of calls. Oh, we're just doing this for Israel. They are prohibited from doing so by the USA. When you see these statements, did he get Israel to co-sign that statement? Did Israel give a stamp of approval before he put that out? I doubt it. This is the same guy who, during the last bombing raid, when jets were on their way to Iran, he said of Israel, they don't know what the bleep they're doing. This is a guy who there's been constant reporting that he has given it to Benjamin Netanyahu time and time again. And this statement seems like that as well. They are prohibited, all caps, from doing so by the USA. Who's in control of this relationship? I think it is America. You can tell me if I'm wrong. 615-737-9986. I'm happy to have a conversation about it. But it looks like President Trump is doing what he wants to do, not being dog-walked by Benjamin Netanyahu. The Strait of Hormuz is open, and it's going to remain open forever. Again, President Trump posting on True Social minutes ago, Iran has agreed to never close the Strait of Hormuz again. It will no longer be used as a weapon against the world. We'll talk about this. We'll continue bringing you updates on the breaking news of the Strait of Hormuz being reopened. We'll also talk about Eric Swalwell and Ruben Gallego on the way. Plus, we have some immigration updates and more. It's 9:51. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock Store. Super excited. May 30th is going to be here before we know it, and that is the date for the 6th annual Nashville Open House at the one, the only Glock Store. You should plan on being there. I'm going to be there. So is my friends Matt Murphy and Dan Mandis. We're all pretty hype about it. I'm not going to lie to you. We love the Glock Store. I was there a couple weeks ago for the Simunition Force-on-Force training. It's my favorite place to train. If you've never had an opportunity to check out the Shoot 270 indoor training rooms, not lane ranges, it's a training room. Today, Saturday, May 30th is going to be the perfect day for you to check these out at their open house. They always have the best open houses. I've been to more than a few of them, but they always have great speakers, demonstrations, shooting competitions, vendor tables with factory reps, giving away factory swag, and the biggest and best open to the public free gun gear raffle in all of Nashville, probably the entire country. Last year, they gave away over $25,000 in incredible raffle prizes that included 3 Glocks plus a Glock Store custom Glock that was worth over $2,000. How many Glocks are they going to be giving away this year? We'll keep you updated on that. I know it's going to be more than a few. It's the Glock Store's 6th annual open house, Saturday, May 30th. You should plan on being there. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, and always open online, glockstore.com.
Coming up, are ships moving through the Strait of Hormuz again? We'll tell you what commercial shippers are saying about this morning's announcements. And that's coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you hear that ad right before we came back?
Yeah, isn't that
Hurt for county
crazy?
clerk?
Yeah.
I'm actually, I'm shocked. That's a Democrat candidate advertising on our station. Hey, good on her for trying to reach voters. I don't know. I'm not going to knock it. Just keep
Did they identify themselves as being Democrat?
No, a quick Google search. Google search did that. It sounded Democratic, did it not? Did it have those vibes? I felt like it had those vibes, so I Googled it.
Sounded very urban.
Sharon Hurt.
Conservatives don't typically rhyme.
It's true. It's true. Well, no, some of them do. Tom McDonald. All right, moving on. We got what? What? Nice. Tom McDonald's is awesome. I don't care what anybody says. My kids love Man in the Sky. Love it. It's a great record. Have you heard that, Joan?
I may have, but I don't know the names of his songs.
All right.
But I listen,
You should search Man in the Sky by Tom McDonald when you get a chance, because it's an awesome track. We do have a lot to get to. A lot of people on the text line are like, this doesn't mean that Trump isn't owned by Israel. What are you talking about? What did somebody said? The only thing Trump is draining, because I said maybe Trump is going to drain the swamp. I said the only thing that Trump is draining is Israel's fill in the blank. I'm not going to go the full way. But wouldn't this blow a hole in all of the greater Israel theories out there? Would it not? Would it not? If we're heading towards a peace deal, the Strait of Hormuz is open, and everyone has been saying that this is the only reason we're in this war is for Israel and for the greater Israel project, meaning that Iran becomes part of Israel. That's greater Israel. Well, if the IRGC is not going to be removed from leadership positions, if we're not going to put boots on the ground and take over the country and the oil infrastructure, doesn't this demolish the greater Israel project theory? Is it just me? 615-737-9986. I'm honestly open to discussions, and I'd love to have these discussions, because I think that this is a pressure point in the conservative party right now. And I want to get your vibe on it, especially if you're anti-Israel. Does this or does this not prove that Donald Trump is not under Israeli control? I mean, seriously, I want to hear from you. 615-737-9986. I think that this would be another example of this being this is just another example that he is not under Israeli control. I could be wrong. I want to take your phone calls on this on the way. Plus, we'll talk about Eric Swalwell. We'll talk about Ruben Gallego. And we'll have some more updates on immigration enforcement and whatever you want to talk about. 615-737-9986. It's 10 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. Now 10 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And for drivers, want to let you know that I-65 through Brentwood and the southbound side is reopened to traffic now. There are some lane restrictions, however. The two left lanes remain blocked off as police continue an investigation into a deadly accident that took place around 4:30 this morning. Well, it is open for business. The Strait of Hormuz completely open now, all ships, according to Iran's foreign minister, as long as the Israeli-Lebanon ceasefire remains in place. Now, President Trump was celebrating that news this morning. Also, he said, though, the U.S. will be focused on Iran's so-called nuclear dust.
The big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems.
Yeah, in a Truth Social post, President Trump this morning said that Iran has agreed to never close the Strait of Hormuz again. It will never, he said, be used as a weapon against the world. Now, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that commercial shippers are still waiting for clarity and security guarantees before they begin transiting through the strait again. So would President Trump travel to Pakistan to see the signing of that agreement?
I would go to Pakistan, yeah. Pakistan has been great. They've been so good. Islamabad, I might go. Yeah, I might go. If the deal is signed in Islamabad, I might go.
Yeah, those comments yesterday from the president. There is no firm date set for a new round of talks between the U.S. and Iran just yet. I'm going to scoop Chris here on this one. Florida Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna accusing Arizona Democrat Senator Ruben Gallego of misconduct, saying there are sexual and fraud-related allegations being considered.
How dare you?
You do it to me all the time. I get to do it back. She also said that Senate Majority Leader John Thune's office confirmed to her that the matter is now under investigation. Now, on the CBS podcast called The Takeout, Luna said, quote, any time that you are knowingly engaging in purchasing someone for sex, that is something that should be taken seriously. Now, Gallego's office calls her claims right-wing conspiracy theories. More with this on this with Chris coming up. Here in Tennessee, the school voucher program is now expanding. Here's News 2's Peyton Kennedy.
The Senate passed the House version that would add 15,000 scholarships to the 20,000 set up last year by the Education Freedom Scholarship Plan. That's a system using public money to help families pay for private school tuition. Senators spent almost an hour debating reasons both for and against expanding the program.
Senators voted 18-14 to approve that voucher expansion. That is the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 6 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to the show on all the apps, the FM dial. You can watch the show, Super Talk TV's on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. I'm just going through President Trump's True Social. He's been on a tear. About an hour ago, he posted, I missed this moments ago, but he said, now that the Hormuz Strait situation is over, I received a call from NATO asking if we would need some help. All caps. I told them to stay away unless they just want to load up their ships with oil. They were useless when needed. A paper tiger, President DJT. It's the chicken in the bread, right? Everybody wanted they wanted help making the bread. Now the bread's made. Everybody wants to eat the bread. You can't eat the bread anymore. You're not allowed. Let's go to Samantha in Nashville. What's up, Samantha? How are you?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm well, thank you.
I'm good. What do you want to talk about?
So I know that you said that, or you speculate that if we are to leave the IRGC in power, that would disprove some kind of greater Israel theory. And I don't have much to contribute on the greater Israel theory, but I really don't believe that we would leave, or the aim for sure is not to leave the IRGC in power. I don't think that the U.S. is going to have a hand in that because Trump has said many times that it has to be by the hands of the people. But as far as everything that I've been seeing said by His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi and Trump and all of that, what I think is that a lot of people seem to be, I guess, ignoring how impactful it would be for the United States to have a very enthusiastic ally in the Middle East, which I think Iran will become.
I think that there's a potential of that happening, but I don't think that they're looking to change the leadership that's in there right now, especially while negotiations are ongoing and it looks like they're moving well. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like,
no. That's no. So I don't think it'll be done by the United States or Israel or any outside foreign forces. But are you familiar with the Immortal Guard?
No, ma'am.
That is a military faction, basically led by Reza Pahlavi. It's the freedom fighters, the people fighting for the people. I don't obviously have very much information on that because I don't think anybody does, but I do know that they exist, and I really do believe that there will be an organic uprising, and that this is not something that is going to take, of all people, President Trump by surprise.
See, I feel like if there was going to be an organic uprising, we would have already seen it. And I just don't see that coming.
There was. January 8th and 9th were basically the beginning of that. But at this point, Trump's already done a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of, weakening the IRGC, breaking up their pathways of transportation, how they can move, military assets from place to place. But there still needs to be more done in terms of weakening the IRGC before the people can do anything themselves. Because you're talking about an unarmed population against not even just the IRGC, but also the Iraqis, the Kurds, all of these other foreign militias that have been imported into Iran since January. So, obviously, it's not going to happen right away. Honey, please.
Oh, she's fine. Just let her do her thing in the back. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Okay, well, that's really all I had to say or to contribute. I really don't believe that we are just going to leave it at that and,
the only thing I would push back on, the only thing I would push back on is I'm not sure how organic the protest uprising movement was. And I would be willing to bet some substantial money that there were CIA operatives and Mossad operatives embedded in those crowds.
There wasn't,
but I just don't know. I just don't know how organic that is. I think that while the people in Iran might not like the IRGC, I don't think they're exactly cheering for America or Israel. And I think they're scared. Yeah, I don't think that at all.
Oh man, you need to start looking into some other sources. Like you need to actually start listening to the people in Iran, like real Iranians.
I have high doubts. You've had what, 3 generations of kids that have been raised up in anti-American, anti-Israeli thinking. I don't see it. I don't see it in massive numbers coming to make change. And I wonder what that country would look like. Here's my thing about Islamic countries. While you have bad people in charge, you kind of need it. Like Saddam Hussein wasn't a great guy, but Iraq isn't better without him. And I think the same could be said about Iran. And when you have, 12 different ethnic groups inside Iran, if you were to lose that control apparatus currently, I think it devolves into civil war overnight.
Well, I'm going to push back on your pushback because I just really don't think that you're getting all the information here. The people in Iran are, you can find them in posts on X, videos on YouTube. They're all over social media. If you look hard enough. And they're saying, like, please don't stop. Like, I don't care, like, if I die in a blast on accident. Like, do not stop until these people are gone. And it's something that they feel very strongly about. But
yeah, I would just press X for doubt. I would. I'm not going to lie to you. You might be able to find certain individuals in those countries and then amplify those voices on social media, but I would highly doubt that that's the majority.
There's probably, I would say about 90% of the civilian population.
90%?
Against 90%.
And
maybe 10% are like the families of the IRGC and the regime supporters.
90%? I think that is way crazy high. I could probably vibe with, like, I don't know, 15 to 30%.
Lowest I'll go is 85. But
all right, I don't think this negotiation's going anywhere then, Samantha. All right, hey, I appreciate your call and I appreciate you listening. Love on that little one for me. All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much. I love that she's talking about politics with her kids in the car. Like, I love that. You got to do that as a parent. Don't hide from these conversations. I am all with my kids. Like, yeah, hang out while we're talking politics. Like, just observe and take in as much as you can with your little spongy brains that absorb everything. Like, we don't need to quiet down the kids. Let the kids do their thing. I never like people quieting down kids. I have a lot of little kids. We've been to churches before. The churches are like, hey, get that baby out of here. It's like, you wonder why the youth don't want to be in the church. You've been yelling at them to be quiet for the last 10 years. Like, what are you doing? Like, just let kids be kids. I think that's a great thing. Love that call. Thank you, Samantha. Eric Swalwell not having a good week. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Members of Congress are dropping like flies, and it's a crazy story. Investigations are ongoing. Currently, the Department of Justice has opened a full investigation into the allegations against former Congressman Eric Swalwell. It feels fun to say that, doesn't it? Former Fang aficionado and Congressman Eric Swalwell. He is now being investigated by the DOJ. This is from Fox News yesterday.
So here's something not so special. Just breaking moments ago, Justice Department is now investigating sexual assault allegations against former Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell. According to a source, they are beginning that investigation, and Democrats are facing questions now about what did they know about this, because there was quite a bit of rumor and buzz out there. Did they decide not to mention this in a public forum? Swalwell has denied these accusations, but he admits to, quote, mistakes in judgment. The Wall Street Journal reports that there were, quote, whispers about his behavior with women for years. Quote, Alex Evans, a former Swalwell chief of staff who was working for a super PAC supporting Swalwell's candidacy, said rumors came up in endorsement conversations and, quote, as the last box that needs to be checked before they commit. Evans said that he never saw that behavior that raised the red flags and, quote, he was living a complete double life, according to Alex Evans.
Everybody is saying, I had no idea Eric Swalwell was doing this. None. Except for the people that are saying, well, we heard the rumors for years. One of those guys that said that he had heard the rumors for years was Ruben Gallego. He's homeboys with Eric Swalwell. They're tight, super tight. Ruben Gallego is also going to be under a bit of scrutiny in the coming days and weeks. Anna Paulina Luna has referred Ruben Gallego, who should have lost to Kerry Lake, to the Ethics Committee for an investigation due to some troubling allegations. This is Anna Paulina Luna last night.
Following tagging Senate Majority Leader John Thune, it seems like the Senate has its own trash to take out. You, meaning Thune, need to look into the allegations against one of your senators. It's very disturbing. Who are we talking about?
We are talking about an Arizona senator that was very closely tied to Eric Swalwell, and I have since confirmed with Senator John Thune's chief of staff, as well as they're linking us to their ethics that they are investigating, and we are sending all appropriate information directly to them now.
That would be Ruben Gallego, correct?
Correct.
It's getting spicy. The Daily Mail reports that Gallego spent $2,000 of campaign funds at the luxurious Fairmont El San Juan in Puerto Rico on June 7, 2021. It's the same venue he was married at, and the same day he was married there. Swalwell was also there, and he spent $1,522.11 of campaign funds at the Hyatt Regency Grand Reserve right down the road the same day. To make things even worse, Gallego was marrying his mistress, who he had left his previous wife for, while she was 9 months pregnant with their child. These people are slime balls, all of them. I mean, every single one of them. And I'm grateful that they're dropping like flies. This is from the Daily Mail. Disgraced ex-Congressman Eric Swalwell and now Senator Ruben Gallego both spent campaign funds at a Puerto Rican resort the same weekend as Gallego's wedding, Federal Election Commission records show. The Gallego has scurried to distance himself from Swalwell, his former close friend. They have a BFF bracelet where you put the hearts together. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me. After the congressman and candidate for California governor resigned from both positions following a series of troubling sexual assault allegations, but the true intimacy of their relationship is beginning to unravel, the Daily Mail can reveal. Swalwell's political operation made a pair of expenditures at the Hyatt Regency Grand Reserve, Puerto Rico, totaling $1,522.11 on June 7, 2021. An Instagram post by a wedding guest reviewed by the Daily Mail tagged that hotel as the location of Gallego's wedding on that same date. The political operation of Gallego, the groom, spent $2,000 at the nearby Fairmont El San Juan the same day. Gallego, a congressman at the time, was elected to the Senate in November 2024. After publication Tuesday night, a Gallego spokesperson provided an invoice from a September donor retreat in Puerto Rico showing a $2,000 charge transferred at check-in. The Gallego spokesperson claims it corresponded to the June 7th FEC disbursement. However, a contract the campaign also shared a document late Tuesday showing $0 paid on every deposit installment, including the one due on June 15th. So they say Gallego spokesman Jacques Petit said that the then congressman's team made the first deposit for the September Puerto Rican retreat in May, which showed up on an FEC report in June, the Monday after his wedding. This is a difference in reporting to the FEC and spending in real time, Petit wrote in an email to the Daily Mail on Wednesday. A deposit at the hotel for a retreat months after the wedding is routine campaign activity, not splurging. Politico reported in 2021 that Swalwell was present at the wedding. California Democrat Congresswoman Linda Sanchez, also in attendance at the event per Politico, spent campaign funds at the Hyatt Regency totaling $1,800. The Daily Mail contacted her office for comment about the disbursement as well as Swalwell's attendance at the event, but did not receive a response. Under federal law, campaign funds cannot be used for personal expenses. So they're in hot water, man. And it seems like the walls are closing in. But many Democrats are saying that they had no idea. Nancy Pelosi is one of those Democrats, and she's with Swalwell in particular. It's like the telltale signs of lying. She looks away from the guy asking the questions. And she's like, did you have any idea?
Some Republicans and others are saying that Democrats turned kind of a blind eye, that they knew what he was up to.
No, that's
or
not
what the
true.
allegations
That is
were.
absolutely positive. And it's true that they may say that, but it is absolutely not true.
You had no idea?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I had none whatsoever.
What happens in California now? He was in many of the polls, the leading candidate.
Yes, he was.
That's gone. There's an army of candidates out there. And California has this quirky law, because it's ranked primaries, right, where you could end up with 2 Republicans on the ballot.
Well, it is.
How does that?
I agree that it is a quirky law. I do not agree that there'll be 2 Republicans at the top.
There might be. And a lot of rumors on the internet are saying that this is why they had to take Swalwell out. because of that quirky rule where if you are the two leading candidates in the polling in the primaries, you make it to the main ballot. And we were in a situation in California where it was two Republicans, shockingly, at the top of the ticket. Katie Porter didn't want to drop out. Eric Swalwell didn't want to drop out. And a lot of people are wondering was this blackmail that you had stashed away, ready to go, just in case you needed it? Just in case of emergency, break glass. Nancy Pelosi says she has no idea, but she knew. I mean, I find that so hard to believe. She knew all about the Fang controversy as well. Kevin McCarthy going on a string of interviews saying that she was told, she was briefed, she was well aware about Eric Swalwell. Yet they still continue to gaslight and say, we had no idea. Representative Debbie Dingell did the exact same thing. She was asked if she believed Democrat leadership knew about Swalwell and the allegations. And she says, oh, gosh, no.
You haven't heard the rumors, but do you believe that the Democratic leadership had zero idea about any of this, given that you said there have been rumors circulating for quite a while about him?
But, you know, you would really be surprised at how everybody thinks that we all hear everything. But if you're somebody, I don't go out at night. I don't, since my husband died, I'm never dating again. I don't want to have any. So I work. I go to events and I work. I think that there are a group of people that do talk to each other at night, try to help relax, have social lives. But I do believe leadership hadn't heard about it because I know them, and I think if they had, they would have confronted it. And the one person I know, if she had heard it, would have decimated him. And that.
She would have decimated him. She would have decimated him. That's Nancy Pelosi. Sure, Deb. Yep, we certainly believe that Nancy Pelosi would have decimated him. Nobody knew except for, Swalwell's closest mates like Ruben Gallego.
So did you ever, what about any sort of position that he may have put himself in? Any compromising position? Was he drinking excessively? Was he around younger? Did you see any of that?
I didn't see that, but look, we all heard rumors in Washington, D.C. about Eric Swalwell for many years. And my family, again, was with him all the time, with his wife, with his kids. And we saw a different side of Eric that I never saw. And when I asked him about some of these rumors that were starting on the internet, a few weeks back, he also denied it and said the same thing, like the same thing they tried to do to you is in 2024 is what they're trying to do.
So we all knew. Gallego knew. Maybe Gallego's in some hot water because he was asked to have Eric drop out of the governor's race, and maybe he didn't do it. I don't know. But it seems like they're going after people, and the reason is unclear at this moment. But I will say, Stephen Miller the other night on Fox News, he nailed it when he goes, what you have to understand is that the biggest revelation here isn't even really the Swalwell story. That's not the most important part of this. The most important part of this is what it means for the Democrat Party and how they're using blackmail to leverage things.
Has the president said anything about Swalwell? I don't know if he said anything. Has he been following that?
Why, has he had a bad week, Jesse? I haven't been watching.
You might be busy with bigger matters of war and peace.
Couldn't have happened to a better person. But look, here's the most important thing if we have 10 seconds on this, and I'm sure you would agree with this. The most important part about this story, and look, Swalwell is a scumbag. Yep. He is a terrible person, the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low,
all true.
The most dishonest of the most dishonest. But the real story here is how the Democrat Party controls its members through blackmail.
Yep.
It's got a blackmail file on all of its politicians, and it uses them to leverage and control them until it's time to release it. That is how sick and twisted the Democrat Party is. That's the next thread we've got to pull out here, Jess.
I think we got to pull that thread, and I would be willing to bet there's a similar thread on the Republican side. It's 10:25. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at USS United Structural Systems. They're your foundation and waterproofing pros. Were you in that rainstorm last night? We got caught in it at the baseball field, and it was absolutely insane. And I was thinking to myself, if I had any waterproofing issues, I'd be stressing in situations like that. This is the perfect day for you to check your crawl space, check your basement, see if any water got in last night during the rain. And if it did, you need to call the pros. You need to call United Structural Systems. You see, they've been doing the waterproofing work since 1994. They have over 30,000 satisfied customers, and they're going to send a pro to your home to diagnose the issue, not going to send a sales guy worried about his quota. That's a key difference. Now, if you got water getting in there, it could be a very, very quick fix, and USS has no problem telling you if that's the deal. However, if you keep ignoring the water getting in, it could lead to something much bigger down the road. We're talking mold that you don't want your family breathing in, or wood rot that compromises your foundation. Don't let either of those happen to you or your home. Call USS today. Don't let a small problem become bigger. These guys are your pros, and when you need peace of mind, if you're dealing with foundation issues or waterproofing after severe weather, connect with a company committed to quality, committed to the community. That's United Structural Systems. 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. Online, USSTN.com.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Want to let drivers know that 65 southbound through Brentwood is reopened after a deadly crash, but 2 left lanes remain blocked off at this hour. President Trump and Iran's foreign minister say the Strait of Hormuz is open again as long as a ceasefire lasts. President Trump also saying the U.S. naval blockade against Iran will stay in effect until a deal is complete. ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy.
The president knows that this blockade is working, and he wants to get that final push of the Iranians on the negotiation table to get things like completely turning over all of their highly enriched uranium, completely dismantling any potential for enriching uranium in Iran.
President Trump also saying that Iran is removing all remaining sea mines in the strait. Looks like the FISA surveillance program is getting a short reprieve. Here's Chad Pergram at Fox News.
The Senate just a couple of moments ago has synced up with the House of Representatives here. They passed this bill in the House of Representatives last night, a 2-week extension of FISA. The Senate passed this by unanimous consent. That means that none of the 100 senators objected. Ron Wyden, the Democrat from Oregon, he says he has some reservations, but he did not object in the end. So FISA will not go dark. The House and Senate are on the same page.
This is a 2-week extension until April 30th. In Tennessee, both chambers of the House, the state legislature, have voted in favor of a bill to tamp down on robocalls. Companies would have to cap the number of automated calls at 10,000 per month. And the guy that wrote this song has passed away.
You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold.
Don Schlitz was one of country music's most prolific songwriters. The Country Music Association said he died yesterday, although the cause of death was not released. He also wrote Randy Travis's Forever and Ever Amen. Don Schlitz was 73. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for Conservatives for Lower Healthcare Costs. And President Trump is doing what politicians have promised for decades, but never actually delivered. He's fighting to lower prescription drug costs for American families and seniors. And he's forced Big Pharma to make deals. He's reformed pharmacy benefit managers and launched Trump RX. That's a platform to buy medications at dramatically reduced prices, which is real relief for Tennessee families, seniors, and anyone who's ever had to choose between a prescription and paying rent. But right now in Nashville, some politicians are pushing Senate Bill 2040, the so-called Fair Prescription Act. Conservatives for Lower Health Care Costs say it sounds reasonable, but it's not. Estimates have it that if it passes, it would force the closure of hundreds of pharmacies across Tennessee overnight, which would then mean thousands of jobs being eliminated and over 1.5 million patients scrambling to find care. Many of these pharmacies serve rural communities where the nearest one is 30 minutes away. SB 2040 would also cut off mail-order delivery. That hurts veterans, seniors who can't drive, and Trump RX itself. Conservatives to lower health care costs say this is big government at its worst, trying to solve one problem by creating a handful more. You can learn more about this and decide for yourself at protecttnrx.com. 36 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You can listen to the show anywhere, all the apps, the FM dial. You can watch the show as well. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. The latter being the big one. Smash the subscribe button. Help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. We've been following the story all morning long. The Strait of Hormuz is open.
To never close the Strait of Hormuz again, it will no longer be used as a weapon against the world, President Donald J. Trump. And let's take a look at the markets taking off like a rocket on this news this morning that there has been a decision to reopen the strait. That came from the Iranian foreign minister, confirmed by our side as well. And you see that post from the president. 49,622 right now, Bill. 50,000 is in reach.
Yeah, just looking at this, the war started some 48 days ago, like the end of February. Yeah. We've already recovered everything we've lost since the war began, plus an additional 1,000 points.
Crude oil, look at crude oil down $13.81 and change. And you think about Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, the other day saying that he could see gas with a $3 in front of it, $3 in front of it over the course of the summer, and that looks.
So that looks like it could be the case if all of this holds. President Trump also lashing out at the fake news, saying the failing New York Times, fake news CNN, and others just don't know what to do. They are desperately looking for a reason to criticize President Donald J. Trump on the Iran situation, but just can't find it. Why don't they just say at the right time, job well done, Mr. President, and start to gain back their credibility? President Trump also announcing that they will be able to get the nuclear dust. That has been a big point of contention. Also that Iran has agreed to enriching no uranium moving forward.
News Nation's Kelly Meyer just spoke with the president on the phone about these developments. I mean, fervent posts on social media. Kelly, you asked him specifically about all of this breaking news. Share with us the conversation.
Yeah, hey, Marty. So I just got off the phone with the president, and we are here in Las Vegas. We are traveling with him as he makes his way to Arizona today. But he has been posting this stream, as you mentioned, of posts on Truth Social. So I called him and asked and just got right to the point because the posts sound as though this has been agreed to. And when I asked, did Iran agree to the main sticking point here of stopping enriching uranium, which is meaning getting rid of their ability to create these weapons, he said yes. So I said, did they agree to stop enriching uranium? He said they agreed to everything. And then he asked me, are you surprised? So I asked him, are you surprised? And he said, I'm not surprised by anything. And then he said, I'll see you later. And the call ended. So it seemed as though from the way that these posts are coming across on his Truth Social page that this was a successful morning. He didn't give any more detail into what calls have been happening this morning. It's now, 7:45 here in Las Vegas, 10:45 in the East Coast. And he might have been having these conversations through the night and into the morning, but he's saying this is a great and a brilliant day for the world. He's saying that Iran agreed never to close the strait again, and all of these different posts. So it gives the indication that there has been big, massive movement in getting this deal with Iran.
Wow. What a development. We'll watch and wait and see if the president then responds in transit. Kelly traveling with the president. Kelly, thank you for jumping on the phone and for sharing that piece of an exchange that you had with the president on all of this.
I'm sure that as the president lands or gets to Arizona, we're going to get some statements from him either on the plane or on the tarmac. As those audio bites become available, if we hear from the president on these deals, we will bring it to you live here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll be monitoring that entire situation, and should the president begin to speak anywhere at any moment, we'll find it for you and we'll have it immediately. But it does appear that the strategy of screaming at Iranians paid off.
Have you been negotiating a lot all day? I mean, is that why your voice is hoarse?
I've been screaming at Iranians all day, yes. A little bit of a laryngitis because of my scream. I've been screaming at Iranians.
So the Iran leadership you're screaming at?
You know why? Because that's the only thing they understand. They don't understand being nice. They understand the way I have to do business. I treat all people differently.
That's the president of the United States, I guess, trading the Strait of Hormuz and opening it back up for a case of laryngitis. That's what it cost him today. We'll be paying attention to this story as more audio and details become available. We'll have it for you here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I wanted to play this story. there was a press conference with the astronauts from Artemis yesterday, and it was, I'll be honest with you, the room was completely empty. Like, nobody showed up for this press conference. And again, the news cycle is so crazy right now that if this had been 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I think it would have been the most packed press conference that you'd seen in a long time. But nobody has the bandwidth for the amount of news that we have to digest in this nation right now. And this story has taken a back seat. The trip around the dark side of the moon from Artemis 2. Artemis 2 Commander Reed Wiseman said something, though, that I thought was so cool. And it was a bit chilling. He talked about how he's not a religious person, but he had a moment in outer space where it was just, he said everything came into line and he just acknowledged the presence of God. And I thought this was a cool thing.
My question is, now that you've been back on Earth for just a few days and had a little bit of time to sit with it, do any of you feel as though you had an experience similar to what Mitchell described, this sense of universal connectedness? And did you experience somehow a shift in consciousness somehow? Thanks.
I mean, first of all, that's a hell of a question. Because you would have to imagine that how you perceive things, how you see things, like how your brain is working is going to completely change the moment that the moon eclipses the sun. And you can no longer see Earth. And you are as far away from everything you know as you have ever been. It's got to be a humbling experience. It's got to be awe-inspiring. So I loved the question, but the answer was even better.
Yes. Chris, it's a great question. I'll just the only thing I can do is just share one quick story. When I got back on the ship, I'm not really a religious person, but there was just no other avenue for me to explain anything or to experience anything. So I asked for the chaplain on the Navy ship to just come visit us for a minute. And when that man walked in, I'd never met him before in my life, but I saw the cross on his collar, and I broke down in tears. Like, it's very hard to fully grasp what we just went through. And in these short, you just said it's been a week since we've been back, but it's been a week of medical testing, physical testing, doctors, science objectives. We have not had that decompression. We have not had that reflection time. So I'm basing this on what we saw. And when the sun eclipsed behind the moon, I think all four of us, I turned to Victor and I said, I don't think humanity has evolved to the point of being able to comprehend what we are looking at right now, because it was otherworldly. It was amazing.
I love it. I love it. Is that the furthest somebody has ever traveled to find God? I would imagine that is the furthest. In fact, I'm a bit of a clown, so I Googled it last night. The longest continuous documented, officially recognized journey undertaken specifically to find God and spread faith was credited to American evangelist Arthur Blessitt. He traveled over 43,340 miles. To get closer to God, to spread the gospel. The distance to the moon is 238,900 miles. So I would say that this guy holds the world record and out of the world record for the longest distance traveled to ever find God. And I love the story. I love the fact that he's not a religious guy, but in that moment, he acknowledged the Creator. I love that in that moment, he didn't bow down to science. He didn't say, "Oh, thanks, science. God bless science." No, he thanked the Lord, and I'm a big fan of that. Brian in Middle Tennessee, what's up, man? How are you?
What's up, brother? I mean, you got me right there. I've heard this before, that one of the astronauts acknowledged God, and how they all don't. Unless they're believers, but if they are, then they need to share it, because you know the Bible. If you deny me, I'm going to deny you.
Yep.
And I don't get how anybody. There's going to be a day, and me and you know this, where everybody's going to bow down.
Yep.
Whether they want to or not. And when you have an opportunity, and that guy took it, it's not the spaceship or his trip to outer space or the chaplain that he mentioned with the cross. Or a buddy talking. It's God. God. We have to give God the credit on these, because we're not powerful enough to make somebody believe. Nothing we say. We can encourage people. And we should be, the Great Commission is to go tell everybody.
Yep.
But if they don't want to listen, then they'll be turned over.
You're absolutely right.
I love the fact that this guy was I don't want to say he was pricked to talk about it, like, like stabbed or something, or maybe somebody said, hey, it's okay to do this.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there was any prodding. It doesn't feel like he was prodded to say it.
100% natural. When you get saved, as you know, it's an experience it's indescribable. And I remember when I got saved at 16 years old, I came home. My mom was not in that particular service with me because I went to another service with my girlfriend, who is now my wife of 43 years. And it was an evangelist, and I floated up to the front, I think. I don't remember walking. And my mom said when I got home and shut the door, she was sitting on the front porch, she said, what's going on? And I thought, how do you know something's going on? And she said, you just have a kind of a glow. I mean, you look like you're in a good mood and you've got a light about you. And I thought, well, I'll tell you what happened. And she had described that to me years and years and years before about how she got saved. It was a great moment between parents and child. And I want to also say that earlier you mentioned that you've been to churches where the pastors say, take that child out of here for crying or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, that's one of my pet peeves. When you said that, I almost got chill bumps. I'm thinking, why don't all parents say, you know what, if I got to take my child out, I'll take me out? Because there's a church somewhere.
And I've done that. I've left churches for that reason. I'm like, we wonder why the church doesn't feel as healthy as it used to. And it's like situations like that. Like, no, we should be encouraging those parents. Like, no, that baby's fine. Like that baby crying 100%. Is a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
100%. And my children will tell you today, my children are all 40 and down to 29. And they say to me, I remember when you would say, sit there and be quiet. It was a little bit of a discipline, obedience moment too for us, even as parents, to say to them.
Let me just say, I'd be lying if I said I've never given the kid the side eye in church. We're all fans of the side eye, but you know what I mean. It's different coming from mom and dad than coming from the pastor.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, I can tell you, since you're confessing, I'll confess. I gave them more than a side eye. I took them out.
Yeah.
But I brought them back in, and lucky enough, back in those days, our preacher at the time never said take the children out. We didn't have a nursery really, not even sure I believe in those.
That's a parenting thing, though. That's not. I don't think that's like the 100%. Church shunning you for your kids being misbehaved. It's like no. Like as parents, we have to teach them that stuff. And it's really important. Right. Me and my wife, we joke, we'll go out to eat and we're the chaotic table, right? Like we got kids yelling and the milk just spilled and they're jumping up and they got to go to the bathroom, but now 3 of them have to go to the bathroom. So now an adult has to go. We're chaos. But we also don't bring iPads. We don't do the technology. We're not going to. I saw a thing, dude. I was at Chuck E. Cheese. And a dad had an iPad in front of his daughter while they were sitting at the table eating pizza. And I'm like, of all the places, this isn't the one for it. You're not at a 5-star restaurant. But you need to bring your kids into these situations so you can teach them how to act. Otherwise, they're never going to know how to act in these situations. So, like, taking them out to give them that education, that's well within your right. Like, you got to do that.
I think as an older person, I think this is – I hate it, but it is what it is. And my children hear the disgruntlement for me. We're raising a generation of zombies because it's easy. Here, take this pad and go over there. Don't bother me. I got my own thing to do. You don't do that. And I remember early on when you got this job, and you'll remember this because unless it's a lie, and I don't think you'd lie, you were talking about going to a restaurant and you told the kids it'd be a little while, just go out and hang out in the car or something. And then all of them came in one by one and you said, where's Brooks? Or I think it was Brooks. And you said, where's Brooks? And they said, he won. And you said, won what? And he said, he stayed in the car longer than we did. It was hot.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
Something like that?
Oh, yeah. We play a game. We'll be all right. Who can do it the longest?
They are a gift, bro. And
Amen.
I love the way you talk about them, and they mean a lot to you. Now, let's don't put them on a pedestal because we can't love them or our wives as much as we do God. But
Amen.
It's a close race sometimes. They're so precious.
I'm with you, man. And I think, everything else is fake. Like, and I appreciate the call, Brian, but I've long said, like, don't tie yourselves to things that people can take away from you. But identify with things that are just going to be yours. Like, I could identify as a radio host for Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and that's great, and that's awesome, and it's a blessing to have the job. But, I mean, there's an office downstairs that could take it away tomorrow. But you know what I can't have taken away from me? It's my faith and my marriage and my kids. So that's why my identity is rooted in Christianity and being a husband and being a father. Because that's just for me. Don't root your identity in stuff people can take away from you. One more time before we hit the break, though. This is who was it? It was Artemis 2 Commander Reed Weissman on meeting God in outer space.
So my question is, now that you've been back on Earth for just a few days and had a little bit of time to sit with it, do any of you feel as though you had an experience similar to what Mitchell described, this sense of universal connectedness? And did you experience somehow a shift in consciousness somehow? Thanks.
Yes. Chris, it's a great question. The only thing I can do is just share one quick story. When I got back on the ship, I'm not really a religious person, but there was just no other avenue for me to explain anything or to experience anything. So I asked for the chaplain on the Navy ship to just come visit us for a minute. And when that man walked in, I'd never met him before in my life, but I saw the cross on his collar, and I broke down in tears. Like, it's very hard to fully grasp what we just went through. And in these short, you just said it's been a week since we've been back, but it's been a week of medical testing, physical testing, doctors, science objectives. We have not had that decompression. We have not had that reflection time. So I'm basing this on what we saw. And when the sun eclipsed behind the moon, I think all four of us, I turned to Victor and I said, I don't think humanity has evolved to the point of being able to comprehend what we are looking at right now, because it was otherworldly. It was amazing.
I mean, it's such a cool moment. 10:53. We got a lot more on the way. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, drivers got a crash and the center lane is blocked. This is going to be 24 eastbound at the eastern split. And then in Brentwood, we've got a crash. It is blocking the left 2 lanes, 65 southbound past Old Hickory Boulevard. That's a 29-minute delay. And we had a high school evacuated due to a gas leak here in Nashville. Tell you about that at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Those kids are going to have inappropriate jokes for weeks. That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. It's 10:59, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. On the way, we'll talk a little bit about immigration. Before we get into the conversation on the Haitians, you remember the Haitians. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and that one guy walked off with a goose. Of course, you remember the Haitians. We'll talk about that on the way. But I have a real quick update on illegal alien truckers, especially when it comes to New York, New York.
A number of fatal tragedies have occurred with illegal truckers behind the wheel. Today, the Transportation Department is taking action. Secretary Sean Duffy announcing he's withholding $73 million from New York, saying the state failed to revoke illegally issued trucking licenses. 53% of the licenses reviewed or issued violated federal law. And the DMV issued 8-year licenses to foreign drivers, regardless of when their legal status expired. Joining me now for an exclusive interview, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Mr. Secretary, thanks for being with us here today. When you did this, what was the response from New York?
Well, so first off, you show that footage on your screen of that crash. I think that was the one in Florida, but we've seen these crashes across the country where we have commercial drivers, truck drivers that are unskilled to be on American roads, and they're endangering American families, whether they go to Walmart or they go to church. And so we have taken a hard look at this. In New York alone, they have issued 32,000 licenses to foreigners.
Insane.
53%, as you mentioned, of those licenses were illegally issued. And so that's dangerous for the American traveler.
He's absolutely right, and the Trump administration is not going to sit on their hands. $73 million no longer heading to New York because of it. Big fans of this. Also, just got a text. Ken, you heard him tease the gas leak at that school. 9999 texted in and said, is Mandis visiting a high school today? We cannot confirm or deny. Ken Weaver may have more details for you on that.
Well, there
in
could
the
be
news.
a lot of hot air there.
There could be. Ken will let you know in the news, which starts right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. I've got an alert here out of Knoxville. A truck carrying 1 million bees has crashed in Knoxville.
What?
Yes. Better look out for that, especially if you have allergies. Right now in Nashville, we have a gas leak evacuation. Channel 4 says John Overton High School was cleared out. Staff member hospitalized for a medical emergency while the fire department investigated this leak. Then a deadly crash this morning here in Nashville. It closed 65 southbound for hours starting at 4:30. A crash happening under the over the Church Street underpass. One person dying in that crash. Southbound lanes didn't reopen until 9 o'clock this morning. Operation Epic Fury. President Trump and Iran's foreign minister say the Strait of Hormuz is now open for the remainder of the ceasefire. President Trump says the naval blockade on Iranian ports remains in effect. ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang has more.
This is a major deal as reopening the strait has been a critical priority of this administration as we have seen gas prices rise, still averaging more than $4 a gallon. But the question is, what is the real impact of this going to be? Because it's unclear if this is going to be enough for these major shipping companies to take the risk to transit through the strait without more concrete security guarantees. So still questions about what this means in practice.
Well, we'll just have to see there, Selena. Here in Middle Tennessee, Gas Buddy says the average price per gallon is $3.86, down nearly a dime from last week. President Trump goes on to post the USA will get all nuclear, quote, dust, he says, was created by our great B-2 bombers. He says no money will exchange. This deal is no way subject to Lebanon either, but the USA will separately work with Lebanon and deal with the Hezbollah situation in an appropriate manner, he says. He says Israel will not be bombing Lebanon any longer. They are, in all caps, prohibited from doing so by the USA. President Trump says enough is enough. Thank you, President DJT. Well, Trader Joe's is agreeing to pay $7.4 million to settle a class action lawsuit accusing it of putting customers at risk of potential identity theft. You get details from ABC's Sophie Flay.
If you made a credit or debit purchase between March 5th and July 19th of 2019, and you got a receipt displaying the first 6 and last 4 digits of your card, you may be eligible. Businesses are barred by law from printing more than the last 5 digits. The parties estimate 757,000 unique card numbers are affected. The estimated payment is $102.45.
Yeah, customers can submit a claim online or print out a PDF claim and mail it in. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 7 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can listen to it on all the apps, the FM dial. You can watch it on YouTube and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share with your friends. And I don't know if you knew this, but they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and one guy stole a goose. And on Thursday, the House just passed a bill to extend temporary protected status for people from Haiti who are living in the United States through 2029. Now, before we get too upset, this is probably going to die in the Senate. That's what Tim Burchett thinks. But as of right now, the House passed this bill that would essentially kick the can down the road on temporary protected status. The key word should have been temporary until 2029, when these left-wingers and these rhinos hope and pray that they have a more amicable president in office who would be more open to amnesty. Rep. Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts, who is the co-chair of the House Haiti Caucus, introduced a discharge petition to advance a bill to extend protection for Haitian nationals. The legislation was initially introduced by Rep. Lauren Gillen, Democrat out of New York, Long Island District, as well as the rest of Long Island and New York City, because they have large Haitian populations, and it's the first bill she introduced after her election to the House. But after the discharge petition succeeded with bipartisan support, the bill passed the full House with 10 Republicans voting in support of this thing. How on earth can we let these Republicans get away with it? We shouldn't. And Laura Ingraham last night said, you need to remember the name of each and every one of these 10 House Republicans that just voted to keep the Haitians, who are only supposed to be here temporarily. That's what the T in TPS stands for. You got to remember every single one of these names.
To pass this, remember these names: Mike Lawler, Maria Salazar, of course, Don Bacon retiring, Brian Fitzpatrick, Carlos Jimenez, Nicole Maliotakis, Mario Diaz-Balart, Rich McCormick, Mike Turner, Mike Carey, and Kevin Kiley. Now, how do they justify this abdication? I have a hint for you. You're mean simply for asking. They claim that returning the immigrants to their home country, which the statute underneath clearly contemplates, is not compassionate.
It's sickening to think my Haitian friends and neighbors can be sent back there.
They enrolled in TPS so that they could pay taxes, support their families, and educate their children.
And
it's funny when you hear the Democrats complain, and there's a longer version of that clip that goes around. They're like, we can't send them back to Haiti. It's so dangerous. It's so awful. These are the same people when Donald Trump called Haiti an S-hole country. They said, what a liar. What a stupid bigot. Haiti is amazing. And we love Haiti. And then these same Democrats, when they want to send them back to this amazing place, this utopia known as Haiti, they say it's too dangerous. It's so rude. It's so mean. How could you do this to them? You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't with these Democrats. And again, President Trump calls it an S-hole country, which, spoiler alert, by all metrics and measurements, it is an S-hole country. That's bigoted. That's racist. That's so mean, so cruel. Wanting to send them back because it's clearly a utopia and heaven on earth, according to the Democrats, that is also racist and cruel and so bigoted. Are you keeping score at home? Can you keep up with this? It's hard to keep up with the Democrats, but this is not America first, and the fact that 10 Republicans signed on to this is absolutely insane. Kevin Kiley is an independent out of California, but I think he's a California Republican. We all know California Republicans, and they're not as hardcore as Tennessee conservatives. I think he went and made himself an independent. That way he'd be more palatable to the Democrats, the moderate Democrats in California, because nobody wants to vote for a guy that is on the same political party as the orange man in that state. But that's just my own opinion.
And that's always followed by the fake worker shortage argument. Now, listen closely when Congresswoman Maliotakis, those were Democrats before, describes her constituents.
I have a lot of healthcare workers in my district that are of Haitian descent that are on TPS, and my nursing homes, my healthcare facilities have said that they're going to lose skilled staff at a time when there is a shortage.
Somebody check those facilities and make sure that there's patience.
Thing to do for my district, for the healthcare facilities I represent, and if these individuals are here paying taxes, working, contributing to our economy, fulfilling a healthcare need, then their status should be extended.
Okay, first of all, those workers are not her constituents.
Yep.
They can't even vote.
Nailed it.
The statute's protection relates to the conditions in the foreigner's home country, not supposed economic conditions here. And third, the worker shortage argument is false and it's insulting. And it's typical. You always hear it from the cheap labor lobby. More nursing homes are owned today by private equity than ever before. The convalescent homes, of course, they serve a really important purpose, but the more they cut costs, including labor costs, the more profits they rake in. So if you believe market economics, you would know that if there were truly a widespread labor shortage in these health sectors, the basic economic signal would be rising wages.
But it's not. Also, it's important to remember the chaos that the Haitians have caused in a lot of these communities. Small towns in Pennsylvania have been completely overrun. Springfield, Ohio, completely overrun. I had a friend who's an investigative journalist that was down there, and they were just detailing that invasion. I mean, you had a small town, and then the number of Haitians that come in completely overwhelm the resources. On average, about 65% of the Haitian community that is here is on some form of government benefit. And in Springfield, Ohio, it was actively making the city less safe because these Haitians were getting into exorbitant amounts of car accidents. Do you remember this? I remember this during the 2024 campaign. This is right around the time when they were eating the cats and they were eating the dogs, and they were taking the gooses from the parks. Spoiler alert, if you can catch the goose, it's free. But they were taking the gooses. There's pictures of it. But so it was Savannah Hernandez, friend of the show. She went down to Springfield, Ohio to cover some of this and do some reporting. And she was doing a story on the car wrecks. And she was asking one of the locals about the increase in car wrecks since the introduction of the Haitians, into the community. And as she's doing the reporting, a car accident literally happened right behind her. And it was because of a Haitian. You couldn't make it up. I mean, I don't see where the net positive is from allowing the third world to invade our country. I just don't. And the T was always supposed to be temporary, and everybody knew it. But the Democrats always wanted to make it permanent, something also everybody knew. Rep. Brandon Gill, not a rhino, actually pretty based, and he was against this the entire time.
So let's ask ourselves, does mass migration from Haiti benefit the American people? The answer is obviously no. 65% of non-immigrant Haitian-headed households are on welfare. Does that make America stronger or more prosperous or more wealthy in any way? Of course it doesn't. And yet we're being asked to give them amnesty and make these absolutely horrendous years of open borders effectively permanent.
Exactly. Is that something that you would like to do? It's not something I would like to do. I'm not a fan of this. But apparently 10 House Republicans are. Primary them. Get them out of here. Absolutely insane. I think it's important to point out that a lot of these individuals were endorsed by Donald Trump. Maria Salazar, she was endorsed by Donald Trump. A lot of these guys have Trump endorsements. There needs to be a reckoning in the Republican Party. We need to get these fake rhinos out. Maria Salazar is one of the worst. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin was discussing the Haitians and their extending of temporary protected status just a couple nights ago, back when that tally was at 6, not 10.
Carlo Jimenez, Nicole Maliotakis, what is going on?
Unfortunately, TPS turns into a permanent status. We have people that's been here for 30 years, and then when we say we're going to end a protected status for you, they end up coming in and saying, well, wait a second, it's inhumane because we're married, we have family, we have kids here, we have grandkids here, we work here, and now we're going to send you back home. But it was never supposed to be permanent. And that's the problem, is that when you start extending these programs, they become permanent. And I have a real hard, I have a hard issue with TPS to begin with, because we don't ever end it. We always extend it. We have asylum laws here, and if you need asylum and you can prove that you have asylum, we're pretty generous in that.
Very small percentage.
But it is a very small percentage. But that's what I'm saying. If you can prove it, which is the president has tightened that up. Under President Trump, we have tightened the asylum language up.
It's been brilliant. At the border, brilliant lockdown. They're not accepting the fake asylees. But they would extend their stay in the United States.
We're not for that.
Till January 20th, 2029, President Trump's last day in office.
Yes, and we are not for that. I haven't spoken to President Trump personally, but I would. It ultimately will be his decision, but I can't imagine him being for this either.
No, why on earth would he be for this? No, there's no way. 10 House Republicans were, though. To Markwayne Mullin and Laura Ingram's point, though, about the asylum migrants, that has plummeted under Donald Trump. It has crashed by 99.9%. I'll repeat that. The asylum seekers has crashed. The number has crashed by 99.9%.
Legal entries by asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexican border, legal entry points, are down 99.9%.
Is
Take a
that
look
good?
at what happened
I think that's good.
essentially as President Donald Trump took office. When Joe Biden was in office, 45,000 sought asylum. In January of 2024 alone, the drop-off right here in January of 2025, happening again with the beginning of the presidency of Donald Trump.
Weird how that works. It's amazing when you don't invite them in and give them a red carpet to walk in on. They tend not to come. I would rather we don't have any illegal aliens in this country. And I think that we also have to have a larger conversation about legal migration with the amount of illegal aliens that we have in this country, with the fact that we can't get them out at the rate that we need to. I think that we need a 10-year moratorium on immigration, period. One of the key foundings or key principles about being a nation of immigrants is assimilation. I don't know how we assimilate this number of people and we're still entering millions every single year. That's ridiculous. And then with the illegal aliens, many of them are getting taxpayer-funded health care. They're getting taxpayer-funded benefits, and they don't deserve it. RFK is actually testifying with the House Ways and Means Committee, I believe that is today. He was testifying yesterday as well. But he brought up how many illegal aliens they had to clear for purge from taxpayer health care.
So we've got
next 10 years.
So over $1 trillion comes out over the next 10 years. Report after report says 15 million
by
15 million people could lose their health insurance.
How is that a cut?
Okay, let's talk about
that. Is only a cut in Washington, D.C.
Have you met with any of the 1.4 million people who have lost their health insurance just this last year from dropping off of Obamacare? Have you sat down and talked to those folks about the fact they won't have their health insurance again?
They're almost all illegal immigrants.
Oh, well, you know what? It sounds like you haven't met with folks like Portia in my district.
We found 1.5 million illegal immigrants illegally collecting Medicaid.
Mr. Secretary, there are people like Portia in Buda, Texas, whose health insurance costs went from $100 a month to $500 a month. People like my constituent Shauna in San Marcos, Texas, her premium went from $250 to $750 a month. Now, $500 a month may not be a lot to you or to some of the billionaires that y'all are talking to, but for these moms with kids, they've lost their health insurance this last year. So have you had a conversation with, how many people have you sat down with that have said, Mr. Secretary, I lost my health insurance this last year. What are we going to do about it?
87% of the people who are on Obamacare are paying less than $96 a month. 54% of the who are on Obamacare today are paying less than $50 a month.
Well and good for us to talk about.
I love it. Greg Casar is the Democrat questioning Robert Kennedy there, but he's losing his mind. Oh, all these people are losing health insurance. RFK goes, yeah, just about 1.5 million of them, illegal aliens. Remember when the Democrats said that wasn't happening? Me too. It's 11:21. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, did you get a little bit more from that tax refund than you expected? Well, I have the perfect place for you to use it. You get yourself a brand new safe from Parker Safes and Vaults, our veteran-owned, family-run safe and vault door business right here in Middle Tennessee. I know you got some great firearms. You need a place to protect them. Let's be honest, a lot of us want a safe. But we've been putting it off because we got to figure out which one to buy, where to put it, and how to get it installed. This is exactly what Aaron and his sons take care of. They're going to help you choose the best safe for your needs and your budget. They're going to offer advice on the best place to put it. They'll deliver it, and then they'll carefully install it themselves. These guys are total pros. In fact, before you even hit the showroom, you can find out the safe that is right for you on their YouTube page. You search Parker Safes on YouTube, and every safe that they have in stock has a detailed video review. So you're going to get a good idea on if it's the perfect safe for you before you even hit the showroom. Aaron told me that right now they have some great deals happening, plenty of safes in stock and ready to go. These aren't big box store cabinets that can be tipped over by a teenager. These are quality safes from brands like American Security, Rhino, Liberty, Heyman, and more. Don't put it off any longer. Take that tax refund and go on down to Parker Safes and Vaults. 931-842-6445. 931-842-6445. It's Parker Safes and Vaults. And when you buy a safe for a limited time only, mention the Chris Hand Show, and you'll get a free pistol safe while supplies last. You can find them online, parkersafes.com.
All right, drivers in Antioch, we've got a crash blocking the right two lanes. This is going to be 24 westbound at Hickory Hollow Parkway. And storm damage is closing a road in Lebanon right now. It's blocked due to poles down. That's going to be Hunters Point Pike between Coles Ferry Pike and Hartman Drive. An early morning gas leak forcing a high school to evacuate. 65 southbound was shut down for hours this morning, an Operation Epic Fury. One analyst calls it a master stroke, the U.S. blockade of Iran. That's coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Headlines with Ken Weaver on the way in about 3 minutes or so here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You can listen to the show anywhere, all the apps, the FM dial. You can watch us, YouTube and Rumble. Hit subscribe. I played a clip from RFK Jr. Testifying earlier today, moments ago, but he was testifying yesterday, too. There's been a lot of talk about the Maha movement potentially being neutered. I think that is not the case, to be perfectly honest with you. There's a lot of objectives that they want to accomplish that it's going to take some time to do. But I think that the conversations that are being had now, if we were to say 10 years ago that we'd be in this place having these conversations, it would have been a pipe dream. And one of those moments came yesterday when RFK Jr. Schooled Democrat Congresswoman Judy Chu on the hepatitis B vaccine. And I don't know how long you've listened to the show, but we didn't vaccinate the kids with really anything at the beginning. Hepatitis B was one of our big sticking points because we're like, you know how you get hepatitis B, right? It's playing in dirty needles or having unprotected sex, or if mom has hepatitis B. And since mom didn't have hepatitis B and we didn't have dirty needles or expect our week-old baby to be having unprotected sex. We didn't think it was necessary to have the hepatitis B vaccine, so we opted out. Well, Judy Chu was very upset that RFK Jr. is giving parents the right to choose, and that interaction yesterday was absolute gold because RFK Jr. doesn't back down. And again, I tell all the Maha people out there, we wouldn't be able to have conversations like this 10 years ago.
It's clear that this administration has no regard for the health, safety, and well-being of Asian American communities.
Get a load of this woman.
As well as communities across the United States.
Super clear. We can't. Oh, the Asian American community. Oh, who cares about their health and well-being?
You want me to reply?
Well, if that's...
hepatitis B
quickly, yes.
is a terrible disease. But babies are not at risk unless they essentially have zero risk, unless their mother is infected. For all mothers are tested when they go into the hospital to have a baby, and for all those people who are infected, the vaccine is still a recommended vaccine. Everybody else, it's available. Parents can assess the risk themselves through informed consent. Insurance will pay for it. We did not remove the vaccine from being insured. And we just believe that Americans should have that choice, that the state should not make that choice for them. Right. Hepatitis B vaccine was not safety tested. It had a 4-day test with no placebo.
Weird.
We don't know what the risk profile is, and parents are allowed to ask that question.
Mr. Kustoff.
The science is that it's not simply about choice, it's about whether infants are protected during the most vulnerable period.
Infants are protected.
Okay, Mr. Kustoff is recommending.
Too much truth, Mr. Secretary. Too much truth. We're going to have to cut you off there. When he said, do you want me to respond? And she was like, well, I guess. I think she immediately regretted that decision. It's 11:30. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. An early morning gas leak forcing staff to evacuate John Overton High School before students arrived. Fire crews called out around 6:20 this morning to investigate the odor. One staff member was taken to the hospital for a medical emergency during the evacuation. The building was cleared. Classes resumed shortly before 7. Interstate 65 South reopened in Williamson County following a deadly multi-vehicle crash this morning. It happened around 4:30 near the Church Street underpass. Tennessee Highway Patrol says at least one person was killed, and after nearly 5 hours of investigation and cleanup, 2 southbound lanes reopened just after 9 this morning. And in Knoxville, there's a crash involving a truck hauling 1 million bees. It has shut down an I-40 off-ramp there near downtown Knoxville. TDOT says the bees escaped after the wreck began swarming the area. Beekeepers and crews working to safely corral them.
On the bright side,
yes, sir,
the flowers going to be blooming out there.
They're going to be pretty.
Flowers be blooming.
They're going to be pretty. Operation Epic Fury. Iran says the Strait of Hormuz is back open as long as the ceasefire lasts with the U.S. President Trump says the U.S. naval blockade against Tehran stays in effect until the deal is complete. Former U.S. Special Envoy for Middle East Peace, David Hale, telling ABC News the blockade is a master stroke.
The Iranian gambit to try to exercise leverage by asserting control over Hormuz was never really sustainable. And in any event, the U.S. Navy's ability to blockade the straits was kind of a checkmate move.
President Trump says this is not tied to Lebanon, but he does say in a Truth Social post that Israel is no longer allowed by the U.S. to bomb Lebanon, and the U.S. will work separately with Lebanon to deal with the terrorist group Hezbollah. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
37 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us on all the apps. You can watch us on Super Talk TV, YouTube, and Rumble. We encourage you to do that and hit the subscribe button. It's free to subscribe, and it helps the radio station out a lot. Before we get into the lightning round, Mike in Nashville wants to talk about hepatitis. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What do you got?
Good. I was just checking. I was just listening to Kenny talk to that lady about hepatitis. How that, these babies, they need these vaccines. But it's funny, like 2 years ago, or during the Biden administration, it was my body, my choice, and they wanted to kill babies up to 9 months old, up to birth. So it's like, are these politicians and people getting pushbacks from people getting vaccinated?
Well, so I don't know. I mean, the politicians are absolutely getting donations from Big Pharma. The only one that I know that are getting kickbacks for the people being vaccinated would be the doctors. Pediatricians get a lot of kickbacks based upon the percentages of their patients that are vaccinated or unvaccinated. But to your point, this is one of the reasons that it was so infuriating when they tried to force the COVID vaccine down our throat while they were pushing the abortions up until birth. It's like, oh, it's my body, my choice, unless it's experimental gene therapy. Other than that, you have all the personal sovereignty of your body that you want.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the open borders. It's like all of a sudden they care. We're letting all these people come through the border with no, TB and all that sorts of stuff. So it's like
they made us wear. They made us wear a mask. They said if the mask saves one life, it's worth doing, right? And then they let 20 million people in, and we see the murders of Lake and Riley, Jocelyn Nungery, Rachel Marin, Sheridan Gorman. I mean, we can go down the list. What if it? But if we secure our border, if it saves one life, isn't that worth it?
100%.
Liberals and hypocrisy, my man. It goes together like lamb and mint jelly.
Oh, no. You can't have a conversation with them.
I'm with you, man.
That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to call in and say it's always on the shoes on the other foot. They want us to go their way.
Yep, so. Absolutely. Hey, I appreciate the call, as always. You know what time it is? It's time for the lightning round.
It's the lightning round with Chris Hand.
We do it every day at this time. We like to call it the lightning round. That's when you hit the lightning. There it is. There it is.
We're getting better.
We're working on it. We cover all the stories that we didn't have a chance to get to, all the stories that wouldn't fill up a whole segment, and stories that we think are fun and interesting. First story in the lightning round. This is brand new. This is I think this is pretty gangster. I'm not gonna lie to you. This might be the best thing that Governor Lee's ever done. I'm gonna go on record. I'm not a huge Governor Lee guy. I'm not anti-Lee, but I haven't been like the most pro Bill Lee. But I like this. I like it a lot. You ready for it? It's breaking news. Tennessee governor signs Nuclear Family Month resolution as critics push back on exclusions. The signing comes just days after the pride flag at Stonewall National Monument was restored after a legal battle. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee has signed a resolution declaring June as Nuclear Family Month as an alternative to Pride Month. If you want Pride Month, you can go to California, all right? We're doing Nuclear Family Month. Lee signed a House Joint Resolution 182 after it passed the House in April of 2025 and the Senate last month. The legislation highlights the importance of celebrating the traditional family unit, described as consisting of one husband, one wife, and any biological, adopted, or fostered children. The nuclear family is under attack in our beloved state and nation, and it is our responsibility to uplift, protect, and support values that help Tennessee prosper. A spokesperson for the governor did not immediately respond to Fox News' request for comment. LGBTQ plus IA Two-Spirit advocacy groups have begun to speak out against the resolution. It really is telling, right? It's super telling. We're allowed to celebrate two moms. We're allowed to celebrate two dads. We're allowed to celebrate kink fetishes and furry fetishes and maps. They want us to celebrate maps. If you know what that means, Google it if not. But mom and dad and kids, that's a bridge too far for them, and it's very bigoted, very homophobic. How dare you? June June's going to be a good month. Nuclear Family Month. They say the strongest families are grounded in love, not legislative definitions. It is disturbing to see lawmakers use their platform to intentionally exclude their own constituents, the organization wrote in a statement that's from GLAAD. Instead of drafting resolutions that aim to divide Tennessee families, Governor Lee should be focused on building a state where every family is treated fairly and every child has the opportunity to succeed. I think Bill Lee's done a lot to give every child the opportunity to succeed, whether their parents are gay, straight, or whatever they want to be called. Every kid has an opportunity to succeed in Tennessee. God bless them. But this is a cool thing. Nuclear Family Month. Get hype. We're gonna be celebrating all June long. We're gonna do something big. June's gonna be a busy month. We're gonna have Nuclear Family Month. I'm a fan. All right, got another story for you here in the lightning round. Where are we? Oh, here we go. We got a ballroom update. You want an update on the ballroom? This is from True Social. President Trump giving an update on the ballroom. He said a Trump-hating judge for the first time in history wants Congress to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for a glorious ballroom instead of accepting donations from great American companies and citizens. This is a first. In other words, he wants taxpayers to pay for the ballroom instead of donors and patriots. The ballroom is free to our country, a gift, and vital for our national security. This judge, who works for another judge who was man-amused for the unfair and biased way he treats me, should be ashamed of himself. President Donald J. Trump. So Trump is considering classifying the White House ballroom as a military imperative project, declaring a judge cannot be allowed to stop construction. So this is a longer True Social post. And let's listen to how it was explained on Fox News.
Ballroom has received a final approval from a key agency just days after the federal judge ordered a halt to construction. The National Capital Planning Commission approved the construction on federal property today. That commission is chaired by one of President Trump's former lawyers. Today, the judge ruled in favor of a preservationist group that contends the president does not have the power to authorize the project without Congress.
He's going to figure it out. He might classify it as a military project, which is hilarious. All right, got another story for you here in the lightning round. You're doing good. You're doing good on the lightning. Don't get too cocky, though. This always happens to Mason. He feels really good. He starts feeling good, and then he drops the ball. So don't do that.
Hey, I had Mason's training, so I think we're getting there. We're good.
Okay. Don't count chickens before they hatch. Peter Doocy has been on a tear. He wants to know what's going on with the missing scientists in Washington, D.C., the same missing scientists that some have alluded to having connections to UFO and UAP phenomenon.
For you, Caroline, there are now 10 American scientists who have either gone missing or died since mid-2024. They all reportedly had access to classified nuclear or aerospace material. Is anybody investigating this to see if these things are connected?
I've seen the report, Peter. I haven't spoken to our relevant agencies about it. I will certainly do that, and we'll get you an answer. If true, of course, that's definitely something I think this government and administration would deem worth looking into. So let me do that for you.
Thanks. For you, Caroline.
So Caroline Levitt says, I'll look into it for you. And Peter Doocy was like, awesome, great, love it. And then later on that day, the moment he had a chance to ask President Trump about it, he did the exact same thing, not waiting for Caroline Levitt to get back to him. When he had the opportunity to ask the president, he asked him directly. And President Trump said that they are investigating it, that he just left a meeting on the subject. And he alluded to this possibly being foreign influence or foreign involvement in the missing or the disappearances or the murders of some of these scientists. This was President Trump and Doocy later on, same day on the White House lawn.
10 missing scientists with access to classified stuff, nuclear material, aerospace. They've all gone missing or turned up dead in the last couple months. Based on what you've been briefed, what do you think is happening here, and do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left the meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff, but we're going to be hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, if you whatever you want to call it, but some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short period.
So that was the president. Some of these very important people, we're going to look at it over the next week. Could be a coincidence. I posed this question. We were talking about this with Dan Mandis during the crisscross at 8:30 this morning. And I said, what do you think is more likely a coincidence? The missing, the disappearances, the missing scientists, their disappearances and their murders, is that more likely to be a coincidence, or all of the missing people and disappearances and murders around the Clintons? Which one is more likely to be a happy little accident, just a coincidence? Stop looking into it. They alluded to this possibly being something to do with foreign involvement, why they're going missing. I don't know. Maybe it's the conspiracy theorist in me. I think it would be far more likely that this would be our own deep, dark secrets, tying up loose ends, CIA cleaning up dark projects. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I watched too many movies. But when you hear some of these congressional reps talking about who these guys are, it wouldn't shock me. Tim Burchett, who has been on top of the UFO stuff, said that General Neil McCaslin is one of the missing U.S. Air Force generals, retired, but they said that he was the UFO gatekeeper. This is from Tim Burchett himself.
What happened with this two-star general?
He's the guy that was had a lot of nuclear secrets and was allegedly the gatekeeper. And I've been told by several sources that he was the gatekeeper for the UFO stuff. And of course, his family says, "Oh, he didn't have anything to do with UFO." But these people are people of honor.
Well, they didn't want to die either.
Yeah, and they don't tell their family. So their family isn't a target.
And Congressman, I understand there's others too, right? I was seeing that there's like a whole bunch of scientists that are also tied to some top secret stuff.
Yes, ma'am. The lady that disappeared, she had a lot to do with the metallurgy, the top secret metallurgy that we use in some of our missiles and stuff. I mean, it all just kind of fits together. And it's a very small fraternity. And when anytime one of them, something happens to one, the others take note of it. And I was briefed this past week, and I'll just say that that group is very nervous. They are very nervous about what's going on.
Yeah, a bit spooked. Would you be a bit spooked? I think you would. Who's taking them out? Somebody is. That was 77 WABC, and that clip was from March 30th. Tim Burchett identifying the two-star General Neil McCaslin, retired Air Force General Neil McCaslin, as the UFO gatekeeper. We'll stay up to date on this story as best we can, and we'll keep you posted on the latest information that becomes available. I got time for one more story in the lightning round. It looks like, and this is just some early reporting, that with the 2030 census on the way, conservatives could gain up to 14 seats. This is from the latest reporting, 14 net seats, meaning the Democrats are going to lose a lot of seats and the Republicans are going to pick seats up. So it'd be a net of 14. Democrats lose 7, Republicans gain 7 after this next census.
The movement of people to places like Florida and Texas. I know your business is in Miami as well as New York. It looks like because of that demographic shift, GOP could pick up 7 seats and the Democrats could lose 7 seats in these blue states thanks to these policies. But they don't seem to be wise to that, or at least they don't care enough about it. They'd rather tax people out of some of these places.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. And then people are voting with their pocketbooks. They're leaving these terrible states that are run by terrible Democrats, and they're going to good conservative states. So the way it looks right now is Florida would gain 2, Texas would gain 3, Idaho would gain 1, and Utah would gain 1 as well, while California would lose 3, New York would lose 1, Illinois would lose 2, and Rhode Island would lose 1. I was a little bit stunned not to see Tennessee on the list, because as we all know, we've had a bit of transplants since the last census here in the great state of Tennessee, and they've seen strong population growth. We've added over 400,000 residents in the first half of the decade, and they say it's driven largely by domestic migration and some of the reasons that you hear there. Terrible run states, people flee, and they go to good run states like Tennessee. But relative growth matters more than absolute growth. So Tennessee is not projected to gain any extra House seats. We're not going to move from 9 to 10 in the 2030 reapportionment under the latest analysis based on the 2025 Census Bureau estimates. Again, relative growth matters more than absolute growth. So our population has been spread out. We've added it too much in too many places. It hasn't been really concentrated. And in addition to that, it's slowed recently. Nothing is official now. We're not going to get the final tallies on these until that census is completed. But the current projections don't have us gaining one. So, I mean, I don't know. Is that good or is that bad? I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's good that we're not getting more Californians, but it's bad that we're not getting more conservative representation in the House. Hey, just an FYI, we talked about the missing scientists, we talked about the aliens, and we talked about Tim Burchett. I got a text from Matt Murphy. Tim Burchett will be joining the Matt Murphy Show today at 5:05. Will he ask about the missing scientists and the aliens? I would bet your last dollar Matt Murphy will ask about the missing scientists and the aliens at 5:05 today with Tim Burchett. That does it for today's edition of the Lightning Round. It is 11:53. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling presents the Spring Breathe Easy Package. What's up? My name is Chris Hand. For my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, the Spring Breathe Easy Package looks pretty cool, man. Designed to help homeowners clear out that dust, the allergens, the pet dander before the summer heat arrives. This powerful package doesn't just include an AC tune-up. It also includes a professional indoor air quality check to make sure the air that you and your family are breathing is as clean as humanly possible. They're going to give you a dust inspection and a premium air duct cleaning. They're going to remove the built-up debris that's hiding deep inside your system. But that's not all. Busy Bee is also going to install a whole-home germicidal system, which will reduce those airborne contaminants. And with premium service, you'll get a bonus unit fog deodorizer, which is going to leave the house so fresh and so clean. Now, you're going to get all this value for $11.99 on 1.5 to 3 ton systems, regularly $1,800, or $15.99 on 3.5 to 5 ton units, regularly $20.99. Call 615-775-7833. Take advantage of the Spring Breathe Easy package today, 615-775-7833, or find them online, busybeehvac.com. 58 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, 2 minutes away from my weekend. Very excited.
Very excited.
Ken Weaver is in the newsroom. RJ has been producing today. He did all right. He got a little cocky at the end there.
Oh, did he?
The lightning got a little delayed. You know? This was right after he told me that he's been learning from the best. He learned from Mason, and the lightning got delayed, and I went fact check true.
That Mason's the best, or he's delayed?
That you got trained by Mason because the lightning is delayed.
I was trained by Mason, so the lightning was slow.
Chad's in studio. What's up, Chad? How
what
are you?
Up to, brother?
Not much. Give me your knee-jerk reaction on the events of the day.
Good. Take the win. Let's go. Let's get out of there.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Congratulations. Take the win.
Huge win.
I mean, devil's obviously in the details. So, and we'll go from there. But just whatever. Can we just be done with this?
Yes.
How about no more money spent on foreign adventures or excursions that we don't need to?
Over the next 6 months, it needs to be exclusively domestic focus.
100%.
I want people in silver bracelets. I want accountability. I want the economy humming. And I want mass deportations. I feel like that's not a big list.
So, no, it's not a big, but, I just, first things first, sign it, get done, whatever, we're done. Let's move on with it so we can all, enjoy our life and get back to $2.20 or $2.40 a gallon, get some inflation down, and focus on things that matter here.
Yep. I'm here for it, man.
Still waiting for, let's get this thing with the, the health care. I'm still waiting for that. I mean, I can't, and that's not Trump, by the way. GOP, you guys suck at this. Let's just get some stuff done that we were supposed to get done and get through the midterms and see what happens there. But if we're still negotiating 6, 8, 10 weeks from now, I'm going to be like, take the win. Bring our boys home. Bring our girls home. Let's just get done with this and focus on, we're taking Cuba next month. I don't know how hard Cuba's going to be.
I don't think Cuba will be hard. I think Cuba could be solved relatively quickly. Here's what you do: you round up all the Florida Cubanos, and you give them the guns. Don't make the same mistake. We don't give it to the sticky finger Kurds. We give it directly to the Cubans, and then we give them a couple boats, and we say, "Go at it," and that'll be handled in a week.
Yeah, or just go over and let's just get a tugboat. We'll tow it back over here.
Would that be like a reverse Bay of Pigs when we invade Cuba with Cubans?
Yes. Oh, it's a hat on a hat.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that.
I think Cuba's going to be easy.
Yeah, I think Cuba. Well, I think they're looking for. And there's no reason at this point. All right, there's no. Let's just be done with it. And we can put up our casinos, and everybody can have a new place to go on the East Coast to hang out in the sun.
Marco Rubio would say, "There's no reason not to."
Yeah.
Chad's in next. It's 12:01. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.